Welcome everyone to our webinar on tools that power your move off InfoPath and other legacy programs. We'll be covering some InfoPath tools that you can use and other things about InfoPath replacement, as well as other legacy programs. And Microsoft just announced that they're going to replace SharePoint 2010, or not replace, but cut off SharePoint 2010 workflows later this year. And people have been asking about migrating off those as well as InfoPath. So there's a number of legacy programs that are out there. Of course, that's the way it is. We are using legacy programs. We have to move to new things. And InfoPath is one of them. SharePoint 2010 workflows are another. And moving beyond those technologies to new ones and ways you can do and tools that will help you make that move. So I am Scott Restivo, President and CEO of Crow Canyon Software. We have been in business 20 years. And we have been in the Microsoft collaboration space all that time, building applications and tools and capabilities so that we can help organizations achieve better operational efficiency and business process automation using the Microsoft platforms. And lately, of course, the one is SharePoint and Office 365, and now Teams is coming into play a lot more. And hopefully in this webinar, I'll have time to show you some of our Teams integration and our bots, our Teams bots and other bots we're doing to automate business processes. I think you'll find it quite interesting. We are a preferred partner of Microsoft in the Microsoft 365 business application space, and we're also a California certified small business. We have an office in California, that's the headquarters. We also have an office in Rhode Island on the East Coast and offices overseas in India. So we cover the world. We have a global reach, customers all over the world using our software. So what we do is we have business applications that you can use right out of the box. We have NITRO Studio, which is our no-code application creation platform for Office 365 and for SharePoint on-premises, if you happen to be on-premises. We build custom solutions, and now we're moving more into the AI and bot services world. Here's a few of our applications that we have going in the SharePoint and Office 365 space. I think you can see these up on our website, but standard core business applications that people can use and run. They're all based on our NITRO Studio. Our NITRO Studio is a application creation platform, forms, workflows, reporting, and all the capabilities you need in an application. You can use that to build your own. It also serves as a foundation for the applications we already have, which allows you to customize or configure the applications that we provide to you. Okay, so we're going to talk today about InfoPath replacement mostly. We do have an ebook, and I wanted to point out that you can download this ebook. You go to crowcanyon.com, InfoPath-replacement ebook. We'll send that link to everybody who registered for the webinar. We used to have it gated. Now you can just get it simply. We'll send you the link. You can download it. We put it together because a lot of people are looking for guidance on how to move off of InfoPath. There's a lot of different options they have and ways to do it and things that work and things that don't work. And that's a lot of this is based on our experience of working in this field for some number of years now, and what we're going to do with how to move off InfoPath. Now, one thing I do want to mention here, there is a questions box. So if you do happen to have questions during this webinar, we'll be glad to answer them. And if we can't get to them during the webinar, we'll get to them after. That's a question box inside your GoToWebinar interface there. So if anything comes up, just put something there and we'll be glad to try and answer it. Okay, so moving along, we can, I'll send you a link, as I said, to this ebook. A lot of good information there, and we'll cover some of it today as we go through this webinar. Okay, good. So let's keep going with this. Okay, so we're going to look at some of the InfoPath replacement situation. One thing I always like to point out is that InfoPath is the time's running out on using InfoPath forms. It's the same with other legacy programs, but particularly with InfoPath, they have said that the mainstream, if you're on InfoPath 2013, the mainstream support ends in a year from this month. So it's already, the clock is ticking. When I started doing these webinars a couple of years ago, it was like, oh, it's 2 years out. Now it's 1 year out. The time is coming, and it takes time to move off. And why would you want to wait to extended support ends? You might as well get going on it now before mainstream support ends on InfoPath 2013. And I wanted to point out in this slide that InfoPath technology is very old. It was created in 2003, first created, right after the iPod was invented, released. but it was before cloud services like Amazon Web Services and Azure. It was before the iPhone. We all have iPhones, I'm not iPhones. We have smartphones now, whether iPhone or Android or whatever. Those didn't exist when InfoPath came out. So the technology was developed before any existed. So obviously it's not relevant. And Microsoft tried to, see if it could be upgraded, but to incorporate the new cloud and mobile world, and it couldn't. So they ended the development in 2013. That's 7 years ago, and about when Office 365 came out, and we came out with NITRO Studio. So there's new technologies that you're not taking advantage of if you're using the old InfoPath world. So it ended development. No, support, I said, like, extended support ends in 2026, but no new features are being added. It's no guarantee that future enhancements to SharePoint and Office 365 won't prevent some InfoPath features from working. In other words, Microsoft's not committed to keeping InfoPath going just because to keep it going. They may implement things that block some of the features. And over 2 years ago, they're saying now is the time to start thinking about migrating. It's not just time to start thinking, it's time to actually start doing it. And hopefully this webinar will give you some guidance on that, help with that with some tools. I'll get into those in a moment. So why did Microsoft deprecate InfoPath? Well, like we were saying, it's old technology. It's not mobile friendly, lacks responsive design. It's the modern browsers. You have moved on since 2013, and there's a lot of capabilities in modern browsers like Edge and everything that didn't exist. And so there's limited capability, compatibility in InfoPath with the latest browsers as technology of the browsers change. It uses outdated, clunky technology like XSN, XMM. It's kind of heavy, more client-server oriented. No longer being developed. I mean, 7 years ago was the last time. And as other web services and data sources come in, the old technology doesn't connect with them anymore. So it's holding you back, in a sense, your organization. And as we say, even if InfoPath was not being phased out, which it is being phased out, but if it wasn't, organizations still want to move off to take advantage of new technologies. That is something that we make a case that, it's like what you're missing, driving around the old car that doesn't have the backup camera or the phone that's connected to the car, and whatever it is, there's new technology coming all the time that you're missing. When the mobile, cloud, modern UI, portals, AI services, I could add on to this list, and I think you're aware of it, and that's why we're here in this webinar looking for tools to move on it. So let's talk about the InfoPath replacement situation. You have InfoPath forms, workflows. They have forms, data, workflows. You want to move off and you want to move them over to a new form solution, perhaps NITRO Studio. We can talk about Power Platform, some of these newer solutions that have more capabilities that we just talked about in the modern technologies there. So a lot of people ask us the question, can I just move the forms over, the data over to workflows? Is there some magic button I can push that makes everything go from the old to the new? And the reality is there isn't, because the InfoPath forms are built on an older technology, and translating old to new is very difficult, if not even possible. So we look at forms, data, and workflow one by one. We'll look at forms. And basically, we looked at this because obviously it's something we wanted to implement, or if it was all possible. We talked to a number of vendors, number of Microsoft people, and it's just that the modern form technology is so different from the older InfoPath technology. There's no way to export it and bring it in. Now, people have tried this. They have tried it, and the conclusion really becomes that it's more work to modify or correct the incomplete transfer than it is to rebuild the form from scratch. It became easier just to use like our NITRO Studio Forms Designer or other tools like that to build up a new form than it is to transfer the old one and have it kind of all mucked up and not quite right. And you know how it happens when you migrate something. It could be all kind of crazy and messed up and looking like, oh man, now I have to go fix all this stuff. And it's more work to do that. So it's easier just to have the form in place, know what it looks like. And we'll go into some of that too. Let's see if I cover it in this way. If we don't, I'll cover it right now. If I don't, I'm not sure if it's later in this slide deck. But basically, the question is, with a form, do you need to transfer it over exactly how it looks like in the old system, the InfoPath system? Does it need? Can it have revisions to it? And that's a good question, because sometimes with some forms, there's reasons you have to replicate it as exactly as possible as the InfoPath form. Those reasons would be that there's government or regulatory or compliance issues that require the form to be looking a certain way. So how it looked in InfoPath, it has to look in the new system. That's something we worked a lot with our NITRO Studio, making the forms designer be able to replicate the InfoPath form as closely as possible for that reason. It also could be that there's training issues. If you revise the form, you're going to have to retrain people. And it could just be that the form was created by a lengthy process of committee meetings, and you don't want to go through that process to revise a little bit of it. So there are reasons why the form may have to be replicated pretty exactly, or even exactly as the InfoPath form. And so we wanted to make the tools that we provide available to be able to replicate that as closely as possible. And our forms designer is able to do that for the most part, what we've seen so far in the InfoPath forms we've migrated. Now, if you do have the flexibility, that's more power to you, because then you could create the form in different ways and really get beyond the kind of staticness of the InfoPath form, even if you replicated the new form. But the new form could have new technologies. What we're doing now with our forms designer is adding in dynamic fields and bots and database integration and Teams integration, all things, mobile responsive design that might not be in the old form. So it's a consideration of when you're moving the data over. Not only do you want to assess and analyze, does the form need to be exactly the same? Are we stuck with the old way it looks forever? Or can we make some modifications and incorporate the new technologies into it and really think about how this whole business process is working and make it so that it's adapted to the modern technologies rather than just replicating what was done in the past just because it was done in the past that way. It's an interesting point there to consider when you're doing the InfoPath migration. Now, data is a little bit different story. Data, you get a little bit more luck with. Data is data, so it's data, bits and bytes or whatever. So that can be exported out of InfoPath situation, whatever repository it's in, and put into a SharePoint list. Now we have a partner called Fusion No Code Solution. They're out of Denmark. We met with the guy, Steen, at several of our SharePoint shows when we used to travel and got to know him pretty well. So this guy, this company, Fusion No Code Solution, has a tool that can extract the data from the InfoPath forms and put it into a SharePoint list and create the columns and everything that's necessary. Now there's a free version, then there's a paid version and all that. We get into those details if you want to do that. We sometimes do that, and the other times we are just starting greenfield and saying, look, the old stuff's there. We don't need to keep it except for archival purposes. Why bring the old data into the new system? Let's just start with a greenfield. So it really is, as we say, it's often better to start over with a new solution rather than migrate data. This can improve efficiency, so you don't have as much clutter in the new database, the new system, reduce overhead, improve load times. The old data can be archived to a database or left accessible for reference via the old InfoPath forms. Another decision point you'd have to make, talk about the forms, how they're converted, not about the data, do you want to migrate it or not? But there is a tool available if you do need to. And like I say, it's not necessarily free, but there is a process to do that if that's critical to the business. And like I mentioned here, it's just the data, not the forms and workflows. Workflows, just, you have to rebuild them. There's just no way they can be like migrated over that we ever found or ever were able to find anybody else who's done anything like that. I mean, the InfoPath, the workflows are, it's a complex process that involves multiple steps and everything. It's just hard to export it out and get it in any format that can be imported. Now, if anybody's got any other experience with any of these, please let us know, because it's a field of constant investigation for us to make how easy can we make the transition from old legacy solutions like InfoPath to or SharePoint Designer workflows, whatever, to modern solutions. That's a constant question we have. We investigate it and try and find what's easiest and best for our customers to do this. Migrations as easy and cost effectively as possible, right? That's our business. That's what we do. I mean, we build applications and do a lot of other things too, but InfoPath replacement or legacy system replacement is something we've been doing a lot of lately. And as the time constraint comes, we're basically we want to be looked at, and we starting to be looked at as the InfoPath replacement experts or the go-to people, so that we can come in and help you make that move as efficiently and quickly as possible without a lot of hemming and hawing, because the time's running out. I mean, it's no question about it. And Microsoft, like with the 2010 workflows, we just did a webinar on that on Tuesday with some MVPs and everything. I can send you a link to that. That SharePoint 2010 designer workflows are being cut off. I mean, InfoPath are not cutting off, I know, but the SharePoint designer workflows are on Office 365, not on premises, but on Office 365. Okay, a whole story to that I could go into, but right now we're talking about InfoPath, how to transition off. So the first thing is like, what we want to do is know what you have. This top one, catalog the forms, is know what you have in place, what needs to be transferred over. Then when you get that catalog, we could call it, in place, you want to assess and analyze it. You know, I mean, this could be very simple or very more formal. It really is up to your organization and how many forms you have and how your organization functions. It could be very casual, it could be very formal. But basically, you do want to know what you have and get some assessment and analysis of how long and how much effort it's going to take. Do you need to transfer that over or not? And then you want to look at alternatives, such as pre-built applications, like here we are, Crow Canyon has a bunch, so you may want to consider just putting in a pre-built one rather than monkeying around with building something from scratch. Maybe this program didn't exist when the InfoPath was in place, but now it does, so it's easy just to transition to a pre-built service desk, a pre-built HR request system, and then you have to implement a solution that's going to replace the InfoPath. So let's look at some of the tools for doing this. So when you catalog the forms and know what you have in place, it can be very casual, manual. Maybe you have good records, or there's so few, you can list them out in a spreadsheet, and you want to know what you have. So another way to do it is use these PowerShell scripts. These are, you know, I don't expect you to memorize all this right now, but the point is that we can get you these links, and we've been sending these out, and our team works with the customers to get these things in place. You know, these output of these PowerShell scripts, so that you get like a spreadsheet, a CSV file, basically giving you information that you can then use to say, okay, we have these 5 forms or 25 forms or 100 forms, and then you can do an assessment and analysis on it. Now, when you get that, this is one place where one of our tools comes right in place. One tool you can say is the PowerShell scripts. It's not really Crow Canyon's tool. It's general public information. PowerShell, people write these up, and you know, we can tweak and modify them and do that. But the tool that we do have is our InfoPath Replacement Manager. So once you have this catalog, you can use a project management tool like ours to catalog, to guide the process of migrating that form over. So let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to move over. I have a copy of it up here, a version of it. So what we have going here, just to make clear, it's one, you know, we're talking about tools in this InfoPath replacement webinar right now, right? So one of the tools is the PowerShell scripts. Of course, you can just manually list them. But what we have here is a version of our project manager application. Now it's a, you know, this format and branding could be whatever we want to make these colors different. But this one is, that's just branding in SharePoint, but this one is a little dark. Oh, well. So what we have here is InfoPath Replacement Manager. Each form or workflow that's being replaced becomes a project unto itself. And the project it's all listed here. You know, it's a HR dependent update form. It could be form number 23 or something, whatever form you have, you know, payroll form, access request form, leave request form, whatever. It becomes the form that needs conversion along with its ancillary components like workflows and everything else. So it's what needs to be converted. You have them listed. Each one becomes a project unto itself here. Yeah, okay. And then they're guided through from beginning to the end. So the first thing is listed out. The next thing is do an analysis of it and get how it's going to be migrated over. If it needs to be migrated, does it need to be modified and all that? So it's a tool that can really help guide the process. And you can see, like, let's look at the form itself, that this is running on NITRO Studio and can be modified so that it has all the information you need in it. We made up this one with a project name and, you know, who's the manager. It's just like, use it for other projects besides our InfoPath replacement. So it has a lot of that project management, you know, work in it. But who's the manager of this? What's the status, the start, the due date? You have sub-projects coming in, such as under review, being developed, waiting for approval, you know, this kind of thing from somebody. In user acceptance testing. And then you have details about the form. You can even have a link or an image of the form here, and you can have milestones and tasks and pending tasks on it. So it's a way to really help you guide the manage the process as it goes through. It allows you to enter information about each form manually or importing it. You can import all that spreadsheet you get from the PowerShell into this project manager. and then, or enter it manually. And then you put metadata about each form, who uses it, who's responsible, what the purpose is, how often it's used, last usage date, all the information you get out of that PowerShell, or just offhand, you can put into that and say, okay, this one we need to migrate, this one we don't, this one we need to do something else, this one we need to modify. Here's the timeline, here's the criticality. You want to, once you have this in there, you want to assess, you want to like help guide the transition. And part of it is to assess and analyze. So use the replacement manager or whatever tool to assess and analyze these lists, eliminate the unnecessary ones, determine the effort to replace the remaining one, examine each form, determine if it's still serving any business purpose. If not, it's pointless to replicate it. If you whittle down the list, you're going to end up with less work to do. And then analyze the form and get a sense of how many resources are needed for a successful InfoPath replacement. You could do them one by one. You could try and do it more en masse. You could do it different ways. So you want to look at like what's the factors such as the complexity of the form. Is it dynamic? How many approvals and workflows are involved? Does it interact with other forms? Does it require database integration? These are factors you want to know as you look at each form and say, what's it going to take to get it off of InfoPath into something else without disrupting any business process or usage that it has in your system. I hope this is making sense. If any questions, of course, put it in the question box. Criticality, how critical is it? Is it just a minor form, a major form, something that's mission critical? And these are things you want to consider. Are the customizations? Could it be modified, enhanced with some of the new capabilities and the new technology? And that's what you can put into this replacement manager I was showing as information, or whatever way you want to manage it. We like this project manager for that reason, because it helps gather the information into one place, and each form gets considered. And you can look at the overall effort, or you can look at the individual effort that's required to do this, and get some really good way to manage the migration project quite successfully that way. Of course, if you have one form or two forms, you can do it much more simply, or just do one form at a time. I'm just saying there is this analysis process that can take place if needed. If it's just simple, that's okay. Just get like something forms tool and start building up a new form that looks like the old one, like our, go to our NITRO Studio Forms Design. Okay, let me get to that so that you can see what I'm talking about. One thing I want to talk about here before I go to the NITRO Studio and some of the bots and team stuff we're doing is that there are applications that we provide, as well as other third parties, that may serve the purpose that the InfoPath has already, and takes the sweat, all the monkey off your back, or you don't have to sweat it at all. Because what happens is you say, oh, we need a service desk, we'll just get Crocan, just put it in. What the heck? Why build it from scratch? Why do all that work? Maybe it's a better process. And for instance, our service desk, our help desk right now has a lot of integration with Teams, or a lot of integration, to build that from scratch, it takes, believe me, it takes a lot of work. It's not simple to do. So what you do is, if you have a third-party vendor like us who already has these applications in place and supports them for years on, and improves them and upgrades them, then you're going to end up with a possible solution to one of your InfoPath forms that can be done in a way with in cooperation with us or some other third-party vendor like that. Something to consider. I just wanted to put that out there, and some people do go in this direction. Other people have very some of their InfoPath forms are very idiosyncratic to their business processes, and they don't really fit into these categories here that well, or we may have to take one of these and really modify it, configure it quite a bit. And as all these applications run on our NITRO Studio. Our NITRO Studio application creation platform is the foundation of all these applications. These run in SharePoint on premises, 2013, 2016, 2019, or Office 365, Microsoft 365, Teams, and all that. But the point is that our applications run on the NITRO Studio. So within that application, you have the ability to configure it with our form. If you want to modify the form, if you want to modify a workflow, add a custom action, develop a different print template, all these kind of things are possible within the application to modify it to fit your particular needs. Or you can get what we call raw NITRO Studio or base NITRO Studio, and then build it up from scratch and do it that way. So it really depends what you have to do. And having that conversation with us as to exactly what needs to be done in the form, then we could advise, well, this one of these can be modified, or no, you're going to have to build that from scratch because it's just so particular to your business process. Like especially in government, there's a lot of particular forms that are needed. So using a pre-built application could save substantial time and effort, I think. So okay, so we're going to go here into next. Okay, briefly, I was going to cover the Microsoft Power Platform because that comes up. Well, why don't I just use that? Well, it is possible. I mean, it is a way to another tool you could say in your InfoPath migration. You could use this, but we do want to. I mean, we have to be a little bit of the skeptics here. You know, the devil's advocate or the doubting Thomas or something here that says, is Power Apps and Power Automate, the Power Platform, as I mentioned here, it's going the wrong way. The Power Platform consists of these three things: Power Apps, Power Automate, used to be called Flow, and Power BI. Okay. Considering each one individually, you have to consider, will it do, what's the cost, will it do what I need to do, and what's the cost, and how much effort will it take? Now, in some cases, it could be very appropriate to use these, other cases not. It really depends on what your requirements are. We push, of course, the NITRO Studio because it's our tool, and we feel it's a very comprehensive tool that covers many, many bases in application. It's not just forms, not just workflows, not just reporting. It also involves the Teams integration. It involves the printing, it involves list formatting, it involves dashboard creation, and branding, and many other factors. So anyways, with the Power Apps, you have the Power Apps when using Office 365, what's called seeded, or comes with your Office 365 subscription. It does not include premium connectors, does not include on-premises connectivity, those cost extra, does not include Power Apps portal licenses. Our program comes with a portal capabilities, and the subscription only allows you Canvas apps, not model-driven. That means that the apps are built on scratch from a canvas rather than giving you templates to build from, model-driven. And there's a daily API request limit of 2,000. So we're casting a little aspersion, a little doubt on, just to say, is this always the best way to go? Not necessarily for some people. Here's what the rights you get with the Office 365 from their volume licensing guide. You see that you can run custom apps, Canvas apps, but not model-driven, and there's no custom portals because, the blank here. You get standard connectors, but not premium, not on-premise, not custom, not, all these things you don't get. And you have some power use rights within it and daily API limit. So you got to be aware of these things, because what happens is Microsoft's, everybody loves it. I don't say everybody loves it, but I mean, we use their technologies, put it that way. But you got to watch out on the cost that you can start to run into with when you go beyond the certain standard things that come with the seeded Office 365. Another thing that happened is they moved all these standard connectors, were moved to premium in October, and people are a little bit shocked, like, why'd you move SQL, SQL Server? The others are factors for people too, but this one came out really strong. All of a sudden, they moved the SQL Server from a standard, meaning you get it with the standard version, that comes with Office 365, over to premium. And now all of a sudden, they were going to be paying if you had a SQL Server connection. And that's something, Microsoft can pull tricks out of their hat and make changes all of a sudden, and then you're lost scrambling to make adjustments or increase your expenditures. And one thing we get a lot, why people when they go to Power, a lot of people go to Power Platform at first because it's what's pushed by Microsoft, and then they find that, well, it's difficult to use, or there's costs that I didn't know about. I want to have a steady price. I don't want to know if it's this month it's gonna be this price, next month it's gonna be a lot more. They got a budget for these things. Whereas NITRO Studio is like one price and that's it. So we're trying to make a system that will work well budget-wise and other ways for our customers, and keep a consistency. And also, we're much smaller, of course, than Microsoft, no comparison. So we're very much engaged with our customers, and it's very much you call support, and you end up talking to people who are, you get to know the people after a while. We know a lot of our customers from working in the shows, and they're very personable kind of company here at Crow Canyon. We keep it that way. Okay, so here's what Microsoft even says in its own, this January, just a few months ago, licensing guide, right? You'll read it if you want. It's out there in the web. I should have had a link here, but anyways, it's easy to find. So it says right on it, customers that need general purposes and full capabilities of the platform should license Power Apps on a standalone basis. What does standalone basis mean? It means that you're paying for that. It's not comes within SharePoint. Within Office 365, these are what's extra. And the same with Power Automate. So that means that an organization will need to go with either the $10 user per month or the $40 per user per month if you want anything beyond the, if you want the general purpose and full capabilities of each of these platforms, Power Apps, Power Automate, you're paying for Power Apps this much, and then you're paying for Power Automate that much. We don't like to see our customers spending out the nose just because, you know, it's what's promoted most heavily. You have to look at the cost. Oops, hit the mute button. Give a real solid analysis of what it's going to take in terms of effort to get there, and what the cost will be to do that. And if you're going to run into these hidden costs. Okay, you know, there's a lot of other information. I did a whole webinar in March. You can look at if you want, or talk to me individually about limitations and costs of Power Platform and other considerations. This is important because we want our customers to know what they're getting themselves into rather than find out later in the Power Apps price. I'll go through these pretty quickly because this is another whole thing. You know, the whole pricing and cost and considerations of the Power Platform is a webinar in itself, and I just summarized it very, very briefly in the last few minutes. And I have a whole webinar on it, and we have PDFs, and you know, anything you want to talk about that is we can talk about. Okay. Now, why use NITRO Studio to replace it? Well, we're replace InfoPath or other legacy programs. First of all, Crow Canyon is deeply embedded in this. This is what we do. We work with our customers. We know what's involved. We know the process. We have some tools. There's a PowerShell scripts. There's InfoPath Replacement Manager, and also just knowing the strategies about assessing and analyzing. You know, what's it going to take to do this? What are new technologies that could benefit your organization when moving off of InfoPath or SharePoint Designer workflows or whatever? What is the best way forward? And you know, we promote NITRO Studio, but what we really want to promote is how best you can use the Microsoft collaboration technologies at your organization. You know, we're here. You know, we feel it's been in business 20 years, and you don't stay in business if you don't, you know, care for your customers and what's best for them. You know, we're looking to help them improve their business process. I mean, could be profitability if they're a profit company, or more efficiency. It could be, if you're nonprofit or government, how to provide better service to your citizens, or nonprofit to your members, and use your resources efficiently and possible. And we're just, you know, we like the new technologies, and what can be done with them is quite creative. I'll go through this, and then we'll get, we still have some time for some Teams and integration and bots. So let me go through this and get to that so that we can show you. So it's comprehensive, powerful, easy and simple, and affordable, and with one-step price, you know, based on site and users, not on number of forms and workflows and connectors and all the things that you might run into with the Power Platform, or other tools like, I don't know if you ever consider or look at the pricing of Nintex or K2 or some of those others. Are kind of, you know, unless you need that process, enterprise levels are ridiculously expensive. So we ease the transition, a complete set of tools, no code, WYSIWYG form designer, advanced features. Okay. Let me switch over to the actual NITRO Studio itself. There's some slides here to go through, like, okay, I'll go through these and I'll switch them. NITRO, we have a WYSIWYG forms designer, and the forms is part of NITRO Studio, of course. It's a dynamic forms, responsive design. We have portable templates. We have linked items, repeating rows. We have custom actions, portal interfaces, database integration, e-signatures, and other features that are really critical to efficient form design and implementation. We also have workflows and custom actions that can do any number of processes, approvals, escalations, auto assignment. You know, approvals is obviously a huge one. We now have integration with Teams in here. And we also have custom actions. Workflows run automatically based on system processes. Custom actions are buttons that are on the form that allow the user to initiate the action, such as escalate this ticket, close this ticket, reassign it to someone else, issue a purchase order, generate a document, a certificate of completion or whatever. All those things are custom actions that can be done in our system. And then there's many other features included with the NITRO Studio: the portals, the reports, AI services, formatting, you know, conditional formatting and thing of lists, email managers. Emails come in, converted to tickets. There's ways to manage the email history related to each ticket. List rollup, list search, list view, modern UI if you're in Office 365 or SharePoint 2019, and the print manager. So there's a lot of capabilities here. And let's go take a look at that. So we're here in the InfoPath Replacement Manager, but there is another. I'm going to switch over to this access request system. Behind this access request system is our NITRO Studio, just to give you a taste of this. Now we can do a one-on-one demo with you. You can ask any questions directly, and we'll see if you'll get people in your organization together. We do that quite constantly, and they say, "Oh, can you do this? Can you do that? What about this? How am I going to do this? What about security? What about permissions? What about dynamic forms? What about if this situation occurs? What do we do then?" So this NITRO Studio is underlying the underlying power of the application, or of the whatever you're going to build, your InfoPath replacement form and workflow, whatever you're going to build, or the applications that we provide. And it can be used, to build it up from scratch, or to configure an existing application. So this is another a world in itself that we can give you a lot of the forms designer. We can go into that really in depth, and each one of these applications, each one of these apps inside the NITRO Studio can go into very much in depth. So what I'm trying to do here is give you a sense of what the form designer looks like, and all the different capabilities and advanced features and settings. And we really built this out quite a bit to give whatever you need to build. And people find this very easy to use, very intuitive. It's drag and drop. You can figure things over here. There's a lot of different capabilities you can have in this. It's a little different than InfoPath in the sense that this is tied to a list. And so the list controls are right here. And these are the columns on the list, and you can just drag them over wherever you want into your form. And then you can start to build the form out in different sections. There's different layout options. There's custom CSS you could do. Just go with the standard. You can change different colors, put images in. You can put tables in. This is a two table, and color it. I mean, just really show us what you have in InfoPath, and pretty much guaranteed we can build it with this system here. We have a form showcase over on our website. You can go here and look at our website and see our form showcase of some examples of our forms and things we've done with NITRO Studio, and can match whatever form and layout you might have in your system there. So that's one of the capabilities of the form designer. Go into really deep in depth, and not go too deep in depth with this. We'll switch over to some of the other apps we have. We have the workflow manager, the reporting, the portals, advanced approvals, branding, conditional formatting, custom actions. We also have the email manager, the email sync, the linked items, list rollup, list search, list view, print manager, tiles, and dial. And then we get into the advanced ones with AI services, bots, modern UI web parts, and Teams integration. And then some legacy ones. But the point is that this is a very comprehensive tool that gives you a lot of capabilities, and hopefully an easy to use and intuitive interface to do that. Forms is just one example of the kind of way you can build an application. You're building a form. You could add custom actions to this if you wanted. You could let's see, let's go over here and look at this one and see some of the ones with buttons on it already. And so we added this button, and we defined what the action is over here based on our custom action tool. So I mean, the actions and the tools the actions and the forms run together. The workflows can run off a certain events that happen on the form, such as submitted, or there's some status change or whatever. And then those workflows will run, and that's how your business process is put in place. Let's look at the workflow manager. Now, I admit it's not as WYSIWYG as the other one, but let's look at this particular one and show you the kind of actions that are possible with our system. Now, you can stack up a whole bunch of actions like it's done here, so that a workflow causes a certain business process to run. And those actions are, you can add a list item, update a list item, delete a list item, send an email. You can move an item, query a list, and use that variable later in a later workflow. You can manage permissions on a list, on an item, on an individual item. That's something that a lot of people are looking for, how to set permissions on an item when it is first created. So you can restrict it. Once it's submitted, the submitter can only get read-only or not see the item at all. You can invoke other workflows, including Power Automate, SharePoint Designer workflows, and Power Automate. You can invoke. We call it, it's Microsoft Flow, but really it's Power Automate. But you can You can initiate or invoke a SharePoint Designer workflow, one of our workflows, or Power Automate. See, so we kind of work in conjunction with Power Automate as well if you need to use that for certain purposes and you have that in your organization already. We can invoke web services. And then with Microsoft Teams, we have the ability to create a Teams channel, send an email to Teams, or post an adaptive card. And I'll have enough time to show you a little bit of that in a moment. So there's a lot of capabilities you can do with the Workflow Manager, and you can set it up so there's a certain trigger when it runs, what conditions it runs under, and then what actions it runs to accomplish that task. And it's like, a lot of other capabilities in there. Another one that is along those same lines is the custom actions. And the custom actions are more like you're creating a button that's put on there. Now, in a one-on-one demo, I can show you all this in action. Here, I'll put a button on, publish the form. Here's what happens. You'll see it all take place. It's pretty cool. So we define a custom action like escalate here is already defined. You saw that when I was in the form. So what does escalate do when the person pushes the button? Well, it says right down here in the actions. It sets the priority to high, sends email to James, and assigns it to Pavan. And again, it's the same list of actions, except this one also has generate document. So a lot of people will use this, say, in purchasing, and they will go in and have a purchase order, purchase request, and then when it's done, they'll generate a purchase order from that, or generate an invoice. Or if they're in a work order system, they might generate a work order they can print out. Or if they're in a access request system, they might generate a certificate of access or something. All these different things, and those documents can be generated. That can be generated, or can be from a Word template, an Excel template, or one of our templates, and then you can save it in different places and access it or attach it to the item you're in. So that's one thing about generate document, but there's many other actions here. You can execute a script, you query a list. Again, we have the Teams capabilities right here that are really cool. So we're doing a lot in that direction with this NITRO Studio, giving a full comprehensive way of building applications that are truly effective and useful to your organization, going way over and above beyond what InfoPath Forms and SharePoint designers are doing, and building in new possibilities and new capabilities. We have reporting. We also have portal. Let me show you. Do we have the portal up here? Yeah, I have it in another screen over here. I'll get to that in a moment. But just to run through the rest of these without belaboring it too much, there's a lot of capabilities here. We go into them. There's a lot of whatever you need to do, pretty much whatever you need to do. Over our years, we've been in business 20 years of applications. That's what comes in is built into this NITRO Studio. Is what does an application need to run successfully, and we try and put as much as we can into the forms, the workflows, and all the other components of this NITRO Studio system, and then provide as much support and guidance and assistance as we can to make sure that it's done through successful. So you get off the InfoPath or the designer workflows and go over to some new system that's mobile responsive and user-friendly and very capable. So let me show you a little bit more. I'll move out of this system here into another screen. And this is, we're going into bots now. Okay, I'm going to frame this this conversation like this. We have an HR request system right here. This is a demo, so it's pretty basic, just kind of. So what happens is people are making requests to come in and do different things in HR, for example. This could be IT, it could be purchasing, it could be work orders, but this example is HR. So in HR, there's many, many different things that can happen. Again, it's a demo, so it's a little bit cluttered, you might say, but the idea is the same. There's you're creating a request that needs to be fulfilled. Now, one way to do it in the old standard way, and perhaps the InfoPath way, or the way we were first doing in SharePoint, is you go to SharePoint and you create a new item and there's a request right there. That means the user has to go to SharePoint and open up the form. Certainly a way to do it. It's like not saying it's not a good way, but they open up the form. And this, again, it's a NITRO form that can be highly modified to fit your exact needs. It can have dynamic fields on it. It can have cascade. Look at all the goodness of the NITRO forms is in here. Pulling in information from Active Directory, making dynamic, having buttons on when you submit it. So this, it's all here. It's all good, but it means the user has to go to this back end to do it. So after that, we went in the direction of creating a portal. Now this is again, a demo, but it's the idea that there's this portal. It could be in modern UI or classic UI, And what happens is they can come in and create a leave request here. So it gives them a simpler, friendlier interface, a way to interact and do the same thing of creating a leave request. Now, in any one of these cases, no matter how they're created, they go into the system, and then the system takes the workflow, like notify the person who is in charge of insurance, or notify the person who's in charge of the leave request, or actually leave request goes to the manager for approval, that kind of thing. So the workflows are all built in to make that happen as part of the system there within SharePoint. So that's all good and fine. But what we did is we added on now Teams integration, because people in Office 365 are moving more and more to Teams. So we have this self-service bot here. So now we're in Teams, and we've gone to this, we're chatting with this bot here to access the same HR request system in a totally different way through Teams. So we come here and we say, help, or whatever, get started. You know, it's got to wake up the bot. Hey bot, wake up. I'm talking to you. Hello, come back. So the first time you encounter it, sometimes it takes a moment to you know, wake up from its slumber and say what you want. So it gives you some choices. This is any end user. Any end user in Teams and your organization can come in here and now have the ability to do different actions here. And these are, of course, customizable to some degree. We're making it more and more configurable, more of a generic bot. We're really doing a lot in this direction. It's really cool and fun things to do. So in this case, we have this one where there's two options they can choose, IT or HR. If they go to HR, it's going to give them you know, a set of options of what they want to do here. What can you do? Well, you can you know, submit a request, search, and say have a question or issue or whatever. So we're going to say that they have a question or issue, or they could just type in something. So let's say leave request. They want to do a leave request, right? So it says, okay, in my knowledge base, there is what I have here for leave requests is here's what I can show you of what you can do. You can you know, enter the leave request right here. Problem is resolved or not resolved. But anyway, so you go, okay, I want to enter a leave request. So they're from Teams. They've now gone in and are now going to enter in a request for a leave right here. So they're going to say, I want a vacation in August. That's already there, so I'll put that. Let's say normal priority. It's in a different kind of leave. Now you can change these drop lists to be whatever you want. This is just an example of how flexible the form is. We've gone from Microsoft Teams to one of our forms, a NITRO form, and now we're entering the information in here as a way of presenting this to, you know, entering it into the system. So here the person's going to say, I need a vacation August, the first week, and you can put in a description if they want, going to Maui. I don't know if anyone's going to Maui these days, but maybe it's just going to the, let's say, local lake. It's probably more appropriate in the age of COVID, going to local lake, whatever. So here they are, and you know who it is, pulled from Active Directory, and they can submit it and save it, and it goes over. Now, you notice the manager, I should highlight, is James Restivo right there, right? So if you look here, this person can now see that they have these submitted requests, that they submitted this vacation in August right here. They can open it up and take a look at it. And then if they go back to the self-service bot and look at this again, let me see if what can I do? If it's view my open request, it might be there already. So they wouldn't have to know about the back end necessarily. So let's see what happens with their open requests. If it's here, they're going to give a list. This guy might have a lot of requests because we use it at all times. Hey, I just created number 51, the vacation, and the person can click it and take a look at what's going on here and maybe add in a comment if they want. So this is all done in Teams. Pretty cool, isn't it? We've got a list of what is open requests for the person, and then they could even look at it using this adaptive card. It's Pavan 723 today. You know, it can put its picture here if you wanted, and how you know, what fields show up here. And you can view the request in the browser, but the person can add notes or close it. But what's even cooler, though, than this is that you can go over here to James. I'm over in another browser logged in as James, see JR as James, and James just got this request right here as the manager. It went to self-service bot, delivered it to James's Teams. This is James. He was just sitting here, and without knowing it, he got this, hey James, there's a request for leave from Pavan. He's going to the local lake. He's going to be gone that week. Do you approve or deny it? And then they can look at the request in the browser to see more details if they want, or they can just go ahead and approve it, and then it becomes an approved. You might put a comment in, fine, have a good time, if they want, and do okay, and send it over, and then that becomes approved. So the person does not have to go to SharePoint backend or go to the portal or anything. They're doing it all inside a team. So leave requested was approved right here. Now, if you're back here in Pavan, we're back in Pavan now. Let's take another look. Yeah, your request is approved. Earned leave approved by James on 8.3. Fine, it's just what I just typed in. See, I'm going back and forth as different users in different browsers, but you can see that is it's already been approved, and now he can what can he do? Look at his open requests and see that it's been approved, and then we could launch workflows from there. That if it's approved, inform HR or let the PTO people know, or whatever is necessary there to follow that workflow even further. So you see, with moving off the InfoPath world into new technologies that are available in Teams, we have the capability to really expand on the business process in ways that are much more interesting and useful for your organization. So I think this bot stuff is really a leading edge. We're getting beyond the forms. Let me show you something else before we go here. Is that, see, we're even putting request forms right inside of Teams now. So the person can make the leave request right from here, not even ever have to leave Teams. So the person would be in here, they go to HR, they have a question, they want to go on a leave or add a dependent. I wonder if dependent to insurance is working here. Let me see. Let me see if that's working. But anyways, whatever they need to do here, they can get questions to answers to questions or links to forms dependent to insurance. I wonder if that is in this bot or not. Anyway, you can build out the bot. You get this bot telemetry, you get the bot statistics. Yeah, that is in there. Good. How to add a dependent to my insurance, and the person can click here and then go to the again, another form that will open up so they can put in the add a dependent to their insurance. Just an example of the many things you can do. See, it says information, insurance, and change type. I'm adding, modifying, deleting, dependent name, start date, date of birth. Whatever information you need to gather is now available, and they've gone from the bot to that to there, or it could just be returning pure information, like the contact for HR is this, and this, or the next pay date is so and so, and that's HR. It could also be anything in IT. It could be anything in purchasing and things like that. We're working on a purchasing bot that says, hi, I need a new laptop. And it'll come back and say, oh, hi, Pavan, we know you're a sales executive. Here's the 3 laptops you can choose one of these. And then if they choose one, or if they want a different one, they have to put a special request. But if they want one of the 3 standard ones that have been defined in the purchasing, they can click that, and then it'll go right to manager and saying, Pavan wants a new, Dell Inspiron 1500 or something. And the manager can say approve, disapprove, all done within Teams, but yet at the same time, it's in the back end of here. If you want to go back here and see this, number 51 should be right here. And where is it, number 51? Oh, don't embarrass me like that. No, it should be right here at number 51. Let me make sure I got all requests here. Would be showing up here in your back end list. Yeah, here it is right here, as approved or whatever, signed, however you want to show it. But we know that it's been approved because if we look at the vacation in August, and we'll see that it's been approved, and it, whatever other workflows run on it have run that are necessary going to the local lake. See, so you have this SharePoint a back-end system you can use. You can do a lot with NITRO Studio in it to modify the form. You can create workflows and custom actions. So here's some custom actions up here. If you wanted, these are all Crow Canyon custom actions going on up here. And then you can go and, invoke other workflows. Really, I was going to say, you could be in SharePoint. You could be in the web portal that we provide. We have a self-service portal with multiple departments, or that Teams bot. So what I wanted to show you is that there's ways to move off of InfoPath. There's really good reasons compelling reasons. Not only is it being moved to, deprecated and last developed seven or more years ago, and really outdated, and so it's it's ending anyway. So you want to move off it. But the good news is there's plenty of very, very, very good new technologies that we can help you implement through NITRO Studio. If you want to use Power Platform in conjunction with NITRO Studio, that's possible too, or whatever works to get you off of those old technologies, your organization, and get those forms into modern situation. If you want to just create a form and have it work, that's fine. If you want to incorporate Teams integration and adaptive cards and move with us into the bots world and really make a significant change in processes at the organization, we can do that too. So wherever you want to gauge it is fine, and have it work that way. So just to finish up here with the PowerPoint, which I believe is running still somewhere, it will just give you some contact information and some other information about Crow Canyons and NITRO Studio. You can set up a demo. All right, so NITRO Studio brings all the features you need for a successful InfoPath replacement project: advanced form designer, powerful workflow engine, mobile options, integration with email and databases, and I'm gonna have to add in here integration with Teams and much more. With the capabilities of NITRO Studio, be able to build capabilities of NITRO Studio, you will be able to build solutions that replicate as well as enhance the functionality of InfoPath Forms. I hope I made that point in this. And then also we have these tools that will help you with the PowerShell scripts, the cataloging, the InfoPath Replacement Manager, the NITRO Studio. We're here to help. We have the guides. We have, and let me show you on our website, we have a whole InfoPath replacement resource section. It's all to help you move off of that, whether you're in SharePoint, one of the SharePoint on premises or Office 365, we have modern or classic UI. We have training available. Let's see, next week I'm doing another webinar on integrating your service desk with the Power 365 and Teams. I'll show more about that self-service and staff support bots going on there, trying to push people in that direction so that they get advantages of what's already technologies that Microsoft has available. And then there's other one on user requests successfully coming out later in August. And we have this contact information, sales@crowcanyon.com. We are on Twitter, of course. crowcanyon.com is our website. And just to give you one last thing about our website here, we have on our website, at the nav at the top, all our applications listed. Come on, say so. All our applications listed. We have NITRO Studio, information about InfoPath replacement, modern UI web parts, the form showcase, the Teams integration. We have the bots and other resources up here, including a large number of webinars we've already done, both on NITRO Studio and on our business applications, that you can, peruse in order to see. We did one on Tuesday. Let me bring it down here and show you. We just put it up. SharePoint 2010 workflow replacement videos. There was with Joel Olson and Ron Jones from another company called Proficient, and me doing this one on migrating off SharePoint 2010 workflows. That was on Tuesday, a couple of days ago. But we have also a lot of these up here, like hot to trot for a bot, limitation of cost of Microsoft's Power Platform, deep dive into NITRO Studio. So get in touch, and hopefully we will work together on helping you get off your InfoPath. I thank you for attending this webinar and appreciate your participation in it. And I would encourage, stay safe, have a good rest of the day, good weekend, and get in touch. We'd be glad to help you out. Okay, thank you very much. Goodbye for now.